the last few days we've been talking about the Subhadda Sutta, discourse on Subhadda, or Mahaparinibbana Sutta, discourse on the great passing away. And Buddha taught this doctrine, that in the doctrine void of, or in the teaching which is void of Meganga, the path, Eightfold Path, there cannot be any samana who can extinguish kilesas. And if one does not practice the path, there cannot be extinguishing of kilesas. And this assertion of the Buddha has been supported with another expression, another sutta, another discourse. So it goes without saying that this assertion was not given in just one place, but in many places. It's quite obvious. Without the practice of this other sutta, namely without the practice of Satipatthana fully, there cannot be the practice of Eightfold Path. One will be alienated, deviated from the Eightfold Path. If one tries to practice the Satipatthana, the way of mindfulness, then one will be fulfilling the practice of the Eightfold Path. So they are, although they are different in wording, they are same in meaning. Without the practice of the Eightfold Path, one cannot be led to rightly led to the cessation of suffering. Samma dukkha kami, samma rightly dukkha cessation of suffering, kami leading to. So there will be no path leading to the cessation of suffering. Or Eightfold Path is none other than the path leading to the cessation of, rightly leading to the cessation of suffering. So we came to a stop at that place yesterday. So though one practices Satipatthana, if one does not do it fully, completely, dedicatedly, or if this middle path is not fully practiced, that means not in a full sense, or in a limpy manner, just like one is walking in a limping manner, or the analogy given is like a crab which has broken its legs. When a crab walks with broken legs, then it will not be able to walk fully or in a straight manner, completely. It will not be fully, it will not be complete, it will not be full, it will not be steady. The reason is that if you want really to extinguish kilesas, to overcome kilesas, one has got to practice with faith and confidence and zeal, attentively, meticulously, respectfully, at the risk of one's life. Then only one will be able to realize the result, the effect, result. So people are talking about middle path, Majjhima Patipada. But if that middle path is the kind of middle path which is limpy, or like the broken leg of the crab, then because it is not complete in terms of factors, then one will not be able to achieve the purpose. And one has got to understand that if the teaching is not to practice meditation bhavana, then one is blocking the path or preventing the practice of the Eightfold Path. It is tantamount to that. And such a teaching in the middle path, limpy middle path, and not fully, not the full, complete form of middle path, then one is also preventing, blocking the practice of the Eightfold Path. In this connection, we may quote the conversation between two elders, namely Elder Bhaddha and Elder Ananda. At one time, Elder Bhaddha asked Ananda, these two Savaka disciples were at that time discussing, the elder Abhada said, friend Ananda, what is going to happen to the Buddha's sublime teaching Dhamma after the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana, great passing away? What will be the cause for the decline of this sublime Dhamma, and what will be the cause for the endurance of the sublime Dhamma? At that, Elder Ananda answered, if one does not practice the four foundations of mindfulness in order to reach to the stage of realizing its benefits, then this sadhana will not endure long. And conversely, if one is able to practice the four foundations of mindfulness in order to realize the benefits, then the sadhana is bound to endure long. So at another time also, sudden Brahmin had asked the Buddha the same question, and the Buddha has given the same answer, like what the elder Bhatta had given to elder Ananda. So although they are different in content or conversation, they are the same in meaning. Therefore, if the teaching is to prevent the practice of meditation for Satipatthana, this is tantamount to destroying the Buddha's teaching. And for those who follow such doctrines, because there is no practice of Eightfold Path, there cannot be any samana who can extinguish the kilesas. So they are said to be outside of the Buddha's dispensation. So if you to say it directly, if the teaching is that it is not necessary to undertake the practice, and for those who believe in such a doctrine, is said to have gone outside or out of the Buddha's dispensation. The reason is that such a teaching, not to practice Eightfold Path, is directly opposite of the Buddha's teaching. In this connection, there's the commentaries of the Samyutta Nikaya has given the support in this way. If one doesn't practice Satipatthana after the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha, the great passing away of the Buddha, the sadhana, the sublime Dhamma, is bound to decline. Conversely, if one practices the Satipatthana, then the sadhana, sublime Dhamma, is bound to progress and endure long. So whosoever, even during the lifetime of the Buddha, does not practice Satipatthana, that means does not practice the three trainings of Sila Samadhi Panya, which are the Buddha's teaching, sublime Dhamma. And then, if there is no practice of Satipatthana, no practice of the three trainings, then the Eightfold Path is bound to disappear. Without the practice of the Satipatthana, the Sadhama, sublime Dhamma, and the Buddha's teaching sadhana is bound to disappear. It will be like the situation of people like Devadatas who are opposing the Buddha sadhana. So one can compare with your own personal experience in this connection, this supportive view, that if one is able to undertake the practice of Satipatthana, the three trainings of Sila Samadhi Panya, one is taking on oneself these three trainings so that one is developing the Buddhist culture or Buddha's teaching. Whether such a thing will happen to you or not can be decided by yourself from your own personal experience. If there is no practice of the Buddha sadhana, Buddha's teaching or Buddhist culture, then one will be devoid of the basic morality, moral conduct, and one will not be able to control one's mind or cultivate knowledge, so that one's behavior will become impure, leading to these modern diseases like tension, stress, and all sorts of human social problems will arise. And if in such a situation, your physical, verbal, mental behaviors will not be cultured, will not be cultivated, they will become gross, not refined, they will be defiled, and just if you look at your own life, your life will be viewed as despicable. Because of the lack of control of one's life, while we are living in this dispensation, in this as a human being, if we are not doing worthwhile practice in all aspects, then it is tantamount to just giving up, losing by oneself, suffering loss by oneself. Although one may be winning over others, winning victory over others. Because one is winning over others, but suffering loss in oneself, there cannot be any peace. So up to this time, what we have been discussing, this is tantamount to saying that Buddha has given this Dhamma principle, has taught by way of Dhamma principle, that in the doctrine or teaching devoid of Eightfold Path, there cannot be samana of the first path, second path, third path, up to the fourth, final path was extinguished kilesas. At the time of the Buddha, there were these, although there were these leaders and groups, such as Puranakasapa, Meghalikosala, and so on, there was no mention of such people on a personal basis or on a group basis. Neither was there any mention about these religions, denominations, who were Brahmanism, things like that, who were teaching or believing in Anapana, the view of individuality, the doctrine of individuality. And then it was just mentioned that in whatever teaching there is no practice of Eightfold Path. That was what is mentioned. Any teaching without the Eightfold Path, without giving what kind of teaching, without mentioning the names of the people or groups. In those days also, there were no organized religions like Christianity or Islam. These religions were not existent as yet, did not exist as yet. So, with this Dhamma principle as laid down by the Buddha, these people also have no reason to be harmed or affected. Whereas for ascetic Subhara, he was very convinced with the Buddha's assertions, Buddha's teachings, that in the doctrines taught by, the teachings taught by these religious leaders like Puranakasapa and so on, there was no mention, there was no practice of the Eightfold Path, neither was that mentioned any teaching about the practice of Satipatthana. So, in the teachings of those religious leaders, he was convinced that there was no samana who had extinguished kilesas. Moreover, he was also convinced that these leaders were not preaching to practice the bhavana of the no path away constituents in order to extinguish the kilesas. And because he was convinced that these religious leaders did not know, all of them did not know as they professed or admitted, claimed. So it is quite obvious that ascetic Subhadra became convinced and was able to clear his doubts So this is how the Buddha has given, how he was convinced by the Buddha giving the discourse according to the Dhamma path. That means Dhamma principle. Instead of saying directly that these people did not know and so on. He just gave the principle. By giving the principle, Buddha was completely convinced. So in this teaching, whatever teaching there is not practice of Eightfold Path, there cannot be this samana who has extinguished kilesas. And by giving the Dhamma principle, the Buddha also gave the Dhamma principle, by way of Dhamma principle, that in whatever teaching there is a practice of the Eightfold Path, there is the samanas who extinguished kilesas. So this, the Buddha laid out this Dhamma principle by saying that in whatever teaching there is this practice of the noble path of the constituents, there is the samanas who extinguish kilesas, samanas of the first path, second path, third path, and the final path. Also was mentioned this expression Dhamma Vinaya, Dhamma doctrine, or Dhamma discipline. Dhamma here is given as a guide for the welfare and happiness of beings. So whoever wants to be happy and peaceful will undertake this practice as guided. And also in the practice of this Dhamma, there has to be disciplines, the vows of precepts, such as sila, morality, which is in a sense vinaya. So in whatever teaching, Dhamma vinaya, Dhamma discipline, there is this practice of the noble path of the constituents. There can be the samanas who have extinguished kilesas. Such is the definite Dhamma, the principle laid down by the Buddha. It also means, in short, that if there is this teaching of noble path of the constituents, there can be the samanas who can extinguish kilesas. And if one practices Eightfold Path, one can extinguish kilesas, overcome kilesas. And also we should understand it as like this. In whatever teaching there is this practice of noble path of the constituents, there are the samanas who have extinguished kilesas, samanas of the first path, the Sarabhana, samana of the second path, the Ragami, samana of the third path, the Nagami, and the samana of the final path, Arahant. So since this pure the Dhamma teaching has been given, this straightforward assertion is not the one made by the commentaries or sub-commentaries. They are the very words of the Buddha. It's quite obvious. Hence, the Dhamma principle, or the fixed niyama, fixed law, terms of existence, that is with the Eightfold Path, with the practice of Eightfold Path. Wherever there is a practice of Eightfold Path, there can be the samana who can extinguish kilesas, or there can be this overcoming of kilesas. So when the Buddha gave discourses, he gave two parts, namely the dark side and the white side, we call it, or light side. Here, the Buddha has given that whatever teaching there is the practice of Eightfold Path. That means Dhamma Dejana, Dhamma principle, white side. So whenever there is no practice of Eightfold Path, there cannot be the samana who can extinguish kilesas. If the personal, the religions, names of the denominations, or names of the persons are mentioned, it will be the dark side. In this case, it is a reverse of the dark side. It is the light side, white side. So when it is said in the white side that in whatever teaching there is a practice of a Eightfold Path, there can be the extinguishing of the kilesas. There can be samana who can extinguish kilesas. So it amounts to saying that if you want to overcome kilesas, you got to believe or follow the teachings of the lower Padavic constituents. So if you want to overcome kilesas, eradicate kilesas, you must have this zeal, chanda, in order to overcome kilesas. Then you have to take up the practice, develop this practice. Then only you'll be able to achieve the result. So when you listen to the Buddha's discourse, then you will wish to realize the benefits of the discourse. Then at the end of the discourse, it is mentally exhorted, or it is obvious that the listeners are exhorted to undertake the practice in the last part of the discourse, if you want to realize the benefit of the teachings. So, without the practice, you will not achieve the results as given in the teachings. Or in other words, you cannot just practice in a very slight manner, in a weak manner, like the limpy or lame, Majjhima Patipada, middle path, or the kind of middle path which is like this the crab with a broken leg. And one is quite sure that one will not achieve the results in this way. This practice of the lower path, the Eightfold Path, means it is of three groups, namely Sila group, Samadhi group, and Panya group. As for Sila group, it is made up of three constituents, namely Sama Vacha, the right speech, speaking correctly, in a friendly manner, in a meaningful manner, in a sweet manner. And Sama Kammanta, the right action, abstaining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and so on, which make up Sama Kammanta, the right action. And we have Sama Ajiva, the right livelihood, to be abstained from wrongful livelihood. Wrongful livelihood, as given in the literature, is earning one's living by stealing, killing, lying, telling lies, trading in weapons, intoxicants, and so on. Many things. So one has got to lead one's life rightly, with right livelihood. Such is Sila, making up the morality path. Then we have this Samadhi, making up, which is made up of Sama Vayama, the right energy, right energy, the driving force, in order to sustain your mindfulness on the object of attention in a courageous manner, using a courageous effort all the time. If you are able to practice mindfulness, samasati, then the mind is bound to concentrate on the object of attention. Then we have as much as you are able to concentrate the mind, you are able to cultivate knowledge. So we have samasati, samavayama, samasati, and samasamadhi. These three things make up samadhi bhavana, the practice of concentration. Then we have this panya bhavana. As we go on activating mindfulness, then you don't have to pay attention purposely, extraordinarily, because you are used to noting the object. Your mindfulness, your noting mind will be noting the object automatically without extra effort. And as much as the noting mind is concurrent with the object of attention, this is Sama Sankappa, the right aim, leading to the right view or right understanding Samadhi, such as the cultivating of knowledge, beginning with the discernment of mind and body. These are knowing the individual qualities of mind and body and their conditionality and universal characteristics. Such is these two things, Sama Sankappa, the right aim, and the Samadhi, the right view, right understanding, make up the Panya group, Panya Sasana. As we discussed, that four paths is made up of three groups: Sila, Samadhi, Panya, Sila group, Samadhi group, and Panya group, or Sila Khanda, the Sila morality group, Sila Sasana, morality teachings. And as much as you are able to sustain it, you'll be free, or you'll be free from the gross forms of impurities, Vitikama Kilesas. So as long as you are able to sustain it, you become this samana. This kind of samana is sila samana. It is you are practicing or you are sustaining on a part-time basis as a preliminary to the attainment of the noble path, Ariya Mega. So such a person can be called sila samana. It is a samana, the one who extinguishes kilesas by way of morality, sila. Then if one is fulfilled with this basic morality, then one can overcome these gross forms of defilements. And with the practice of Samadhi Khanda or Samadhi Sadhana, the concentration group or concentration teaching, but noting respectfully and carefully with the application of Vriyasati Samadhi, one can overcome the obsessive forms of impurities. As such, one also can be called samana. Since one is overcoming kilesas, in this case obsessive defilements with concentration group, one can be called samadhi, samadhi sadhana. By way of sadhana kilesa, the one who extinguishes kilesa by way of concentration. Then as much as you are able to unify your mind, concentrate your mind, intensify concentration, and as much as your noting mind is concurrent with the object, you are bound to cultivate knowledge through the stages of insight from the basics, thus being able to uproot or eradicate the latent tendencies of impurities. If you are able to practice mindfulness for one moment, you will be able to overcome this latent tendency for one moment, and 10 times you will be able to overcome. And if you are able to stay for 1 minute in a concurrent manner, being concurrent with the object, then you will be able to overcome these latent tendencies on 60 times. Thus, you are said to be a samana who has extinguished or overcome this anusaya kilesa, latent tendencies of impurities. Thus, you can be called samana, but this samana is panya samana, one who extinguishes kilesas by way of wisdom. So, this is called panya samana. So, only when you practice, you'll be able to overcome kilesas, not otherwise. By just wearing robes, you'll be just maybe a holy person by appearance and nominal samana, not the real one. Hence, the practice of Satipatthana leads to the practice of the Eightfold Path, in other sense, the practice of the three trainings, Sila, Samadhi, Panya. By doing so, we are cultivating your physical, verbal, mental behaviors in the right way, so that they become blameless, pure, unblemished, cultured. Both all these physical, verbal, mental behaviors will become cultured, refined and gentle, so that you become the samana who has extinguished kilesas by purifying your physical, verbal, mental behaviors. You become a real samana with affable behaviors, realizing the benefits of the Dhamma. On a part-time basis, you extinguish because you are extinguishing kilesas on a part-time basis until you come to the maturity of liberating wisdom, the fulfillment of insight knowledge. You become a full-time samana, full-time kilesa extinguisher, such as samana of the first path, and so on. So hence this Dhamma principle laid down by the Buddha, that in whatever teaching there is the Eightfold Path, there is a samana who extinguishes kilesas, which can be accepted, which is a principle which is acceptable to all wise people. That's all for today.